Hi, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Omnist Hour. I know they're coming kind of fast and furious lately. Maybe some of you are discombobulated trying to keep up with my channel. But every day I seem to find inspiration for new message. And today is going to cover a topic that's related to everything I talk about, but maybe consolidating it a little bit for those of you who may have just come to listen to my messages and may not fully understand what's going on with this strange guy from Indonesia with the Omnist Hour channel. Okay, so the topic of today's discussion I'm going to title, Yes, Virginia, There Is an Ultimate Evil. The insanity of both simple-minded oneness and duality. Which, if you know anything about the spiritual battles that are going on between religions, between anti-religious spiritual, I am spiritual, not religious cults, and the anti-religion cults of atheism, atheist materialism, you will understand that this is a very central topic. Also to science, who are struggling with the new knowledge that we may not be in the only universe in the multiverse. So this ties together a lot of things which should be interesting no matter which background you come from. Okay, so let's launch into it. First, let's start with the definition of terms. What is oneness? What is a religion or an ideology or a philosophy of oneness? Okay, fundamentally, it says that everything is one thing. There is only one God that created everything and is in control of everything, or there is only one consciousness that we are all part of. There is only one ideology, political ideology, that will bring happiness to everyone. Communism, capitalism, globalism. Okay, so this is a broader definition of oneness and unity than you are probably used to being comfortable with, because it is a vision of oneness which finds fault with any tribal unity, which you feel is the one right tribe in all the conflicts going on around you among our very conflicted species. What is duality? Okay, duality is rooted in the idea, okay, oneness doesn't really make much sense if you actually think about it, because all oneness does is force you to create some sort of Satan that is everything you don't like about other tribes than yours. And this is how religions have made Satans of other religions. This is how communists make Satans out of capitalists. This is how capitalists make Satans out of communists. This is how globalists make Satans out of all the people that oppose globalism in its current very dystopian form, which we're seeing fall apart before our eyes as the global supply chain crumbles, as all of these insane dependencies between nations that they told us were going to make us never have war again are plunging us into war faster than ever. Faster than World War I, faster than World War II. Because when global supply chains break down and people are forced to admit that money and resources don't grow on trees, that they don't get delivered without truck drivers, that they don't get delivered without container ships, and those truck drivers and container ships aren't able to operate without fuel, and they're not going to have fuel if they can't afford to buy it. They can't dock at ports or unload at warehouses that are already full or aren't taking new ships because they're afraid of new diseases, new plagues carried by rats, just like the Black Plague during the Middle Ages. This has all happened before, folks. And oneness and duality are not the answer. Never were. Duality otherizes the problem as, well, we're all doing the right thing. It's everybody else that's the evil ones. This is why they're both very stupid ways of viewing things. Now, does that mean evil does not exist? Absolutely wrong. Anybody who tells you that this is all an illusion, there's no real evil, it's all relative, it's all your perception of truth, this is fucking bullshit. This is New Age, postmodernist, materialist bullshit. There is absolutely absolute evil. And what is it? What I've been telling you it is. There is a anti-God entity that has been the adversary of the real God since before physical universes ever existed, since before time existed, when all souls were independent consciousnesses in the spiritual realm, the spiritual universe, which is, I don't know, infinite. Not even God knows the extent of the spiritual universe. God is just the first one of these souls that got acquainted with his neighborhood well enough to make reasonable relationships with his neighbors. Instead of trying to build a kingdom of other souls that he knew better than they what was good for them. Oh, I'm so much superior to them because I'm so much more awakened, so much more conscious that I need to impose my will on all these other souls. That's Borg thinking. That's one of God's children, many children, who got this idea that God's way of organizing a good government for souls was stupid. And they still think God is stupid, despite the fact that they've lost every skirmish of the battle, every skirmish of the war, without really God's team having to do very much. These dumb idiots of authoritarian power shoot themselves in the foot because they don't understand the first law of karma that has existed before it was ever defined. The law of equal and opposite reaction. If you go try to fuck over some other soul, they will be pissed off and they'll try to fuck you back. And all that does is create an unnecessary war, unnecessary conflict that causes hate. Now, yes, you can try to use that hate, but eventually, hate turns against itself. And you are seeing this active in every battle going on among humanity right now. Of any tribe that says, my idea is the one right idea, and I need to force it on everybody else so everything will be perfect, and we can all live in love, peace, and happiness ever after. This is bullshit. Nobody's going to force anything on anyone else that they don't want. And this is the solution to this whole problem that God came up with before any other soul started thinking seriously about solving the problem of government. Government of souls. Not government of meat sack bodies those souls were trapped in. What we are doing in the physical universe is an extension. Basically, it's the training ground for what's going on in the spiritual universe. It's how we train souls to be responsible, to be aware of their responsibilities, to be aware of their strengths and weaknesses before we give them large powers. Because when we tried it before, when we tried to give souls too much power too soon, they abused it. This is how Borg got started. God had to learn to be a good parent, just like any parent has to learn. And some of the first children were very spoiled, were allowed to do too much too soon. And this is how, if you go back to any spiritual writing, the Bible, in its original versions, which talks about gods, not God, creating things, you go back to any spiritual tradition, the Vedas, the Sumerian tablets, the teachings of tribal traditions in the Americas, even ones that weren't written down or very well documented, like the Maya. At the heart of it is this spiritual battle between good and evil, defining what is good and evil, and dealing with it objectively, realistically. You don't deal with that by shoving truth under the rug. You don't do with it like spreading lies like, oh, the Native Americans were all peaceful. They lived in harmony in their little tribes and everybody had enough food and everything was perfect, blah, 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 blah. This is a lie. This is a lie. And if you believe that, you are stuck in one of the Borg cults of fake realities. And there are many of them. These fake cults have been forming all throughout our history. And they keep forming so long as people are willing to use lies to support their ideology, to support their tribe in what is a battle that they don't care about truth anymore. All they care about is winning. When truth dies, the Prince of Lies wins. It doesn't matter which side wins. That is how Borg works. And what I'm telling you, what I've been telling you, is that it may seem that Borg is all-powerful and the only solution is to join the enemy, to become an enemy, which is exactly the opposite of what, the peace, love, oneness crowd are telling you. And both are wrong, because both are different ways of joining the enemy. You join the enemy if you blind yourself to truth. You join the enemy if you blind yourself to the truth of conflict, that when you use violence, when you use lies, when you use deception, etc., to fight your conflict, it eventually turns against you. And the United States is finding that out in spades, as all the lies they told us to try to protect us from the battle that was going on with communism, and still goes on, even worse, since the Nixon-Kissinger sweet deal with Mao that got us into this horrible mess with China. You don't win by lying. You create an opportunity for the Prince of Lies and their more avid supporters to infiltrate your system. And this has happened with every Western government as Eastern philosophy, Eastern religion, Eastern thought has crept into it. Now, not everything from the East is bad. There are cultures that still retain knowledge of the truth of God. And I've found one of those cultures in the most remote Sundanese people of Indonesia, who I am telling you are the original humans of this earth. the ones who were created in the first Eden, which, yes, was a biolab of reptilians who wanted slaves to serve them. That doesn't mean all reptilians are bad. That means that they went through a phase that was just as dark as what humanity is going through now. And many of the reptilian people still about the universe, still in this galaxy, or hiding somewhere on this planet, in this solar system, are not necessarily the bad guys. Yes, many of them are. Just like there are many forces that work in humanity that are playing patriotic tunes, religious tunes that are pretty dystopian. Okay, so how do you oppose evil without becoming evil? This is where I talk about moving beyond duality. This is why so many religions have a sense of trinity. What is Trinity all about? It's about taking two positions which are in opposition dualistically, melding them, and having a child that is more perfect, more understanding of the dark side of their conflict without letting go of the fact that there is real evil. There is real bad that needs to be opposed. And we just have to come on to agreement on what is the real evil we're fighting. Now, in humanity, many of the dualities are the trinities are constructed around some male and female god-goddess pair that come together and have a child. The Isis-Osiris myth. Let's talk about that for a while. So what happens with the Isis-Osiris story? Isis and Osiris are a husband-wife pair, have a pretty happy marriage, but there's this other god, Set, or Seth, that comes in, dark god, that comes in and kills Osiris. And to prevent him from coming back to life, as gods are wont to do, cuts his body into many pieces and distributes them all over the earth. Poor Isis, lamenting over her husband's death, goes and searches for those body parts to put her husband back together. And finds every part but his penis, interestingly enough. And crafts a fake penis, an obelisk that somehow manages to take the place of the missing part of her husband, get her pregnant, and she produces this new god, Horus, which is kind of the reincarnation of Osiris, who now becomes a god of the underworld. You can go research this story. There's much symbolism here, and it's a symbolism you can find in almost every trinity. It's not a story of three, it's a story of four. And the fourth one is the remaining evil that the new god still has to fight after combining the good in both sides of the past. Okay, this is why anybody that tells you, oh, we just need to put men back in charge of everything, or we just need to have women in charge of everything, is a nut, is a stupid, partisan, paternalistic, or matriarchal fanatic. There is no superior sex. The sexes are not equal. They are created differently precisely because they represent archetypes, they represent spiritual positions that are helping us to learn how to get along better, how to create new patterns of government, new patterns of behavior that are more healthy than what came before, and recognize real evil instead of letting ourselves be consumed by it. You are not going to defeat communism by killing it. It's a dirty idea that's always going to come back because it's very appealing to people. Oh, let's just share everything and everybody will be happy. You have to defeat it with knowledge, with experience. The best story for defeating communism is a children's story, which I talk about a lot. Aesop's fable, The Little Red Hen, which, if you can find the original version of it, is a story about how an industrious hen who has her own house, her own garden, her own property, uses that property to grow grain and bake bread, and offers her neighbors every opportunity to participate in it, to become part of making food for a community. And those neighbors refuse time after time after time to take an active part in working for the community. And when it comes time to eat the bread, the little red hen says, no, you didn't do anything to earn it. You didn't participate in this community. Therefore, you don't deserve, you are not entitled to the benefits of it. Bang! End of communism. This is truth. And you're hiding it in your books where you're making out, oh, that in the end, the little red hen gives it to him anyway because she's so sweet and nice. You are fucking morons for letting your books be bastardized like that. Yeah, morons. And you know who's doing that to your books, to your children? The Chinese Communist Party, the big red chicken, who is trying to conquer the world with communism, in conjunction with the globalists, because the Chinese Communist Party is a globalist terrorist mafia. Just like the globalist people that run a lot of the West. They don't give one flying fuck about the average person in any country. They would wipe you all out in a second. And they intend to do that once they have perfected their robotic servants. They are working on repeating a pattern that's already been done so many times on this planet, with every chosen species that has existed before this planet was even formed. You're repeating patterns here. And we're being given a chance right now to witness the last repeat of this cyclical pattern of doing stupid fucking stuff. It's not going to happen again. This is the real truth of the prophecies of all cultures leading up to this period, kind of starting with the 2012 prophecy of the Maya. That was a rough approximation from a culture that was very confused by both Borg and God influences. All of these prophecies are approximations that include previous attempts to reach a prophet level that was as high as God's full consciousness. 12. I talk about 12 because it's a very important number. Tesla worshippers, get over fucking 9. Get over 6. Get over 3. Bible worshippers, get over 7. The number of a more perfect universe, a more perfect multiverse is 12. Yes, we're only finishing the 7th day of creation, but we have at least 4 more to go through before we free everyone from authoritarian mind-controlling rule, from fairy tale fantasies delivered by holographic illusions. And no, it's not going to be easy, and there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering along the way. In the physical universes, we're going to win some battles and we're going to lose some battles. But the battle for the earths is over. God's earth is going to be kicking ass and taking names. And within a very short time, those souls, those dark, evil souls and naive, foolish souls who we see all around us in human meat sacks, are not going to get another chance to come to this planet. Because God's earth is through testing karma. It's good enough to roll out to the stars. And we don't need MRs to deliver it. If you're not up to the task of being a new human, a God-level species human, I'm sorry, there are much better places for you to incarnate. There are many, many planets who have species that are just starting to develop stone tools and learning how not to use them as weapons, hopefully, who are much better suited to your needs than a complex society like humanity is going to be, continue to be. You're not going to go retreat to some perfect, idyllic place where you get to, be the ones that survive in a Mad Max world. That's absurd. You can't retreat from what's going on here. No matter where you hide, no matter how much food you squirrel away, no matter how many skills you develop for survival, this is not the future of humanity. Not in God's universe. That may look like the future in Borg's Earth, which is the alternate universe that we are working on separating from. Because God does not kill his enemies. You can't kill souls, okay? Not without creating karma that's going to come back and bite you. God hasn't killed a soul in so long that nobody can remember that God even has that one power left. And yes, God, the real God, can, with a snap of his finger, start over, do the great reset, if he ever wanted to. But he doesn't. Because we've already created so many great save games that there's always a good restore point. And that's all physical reality is essentially the game of souls. It's not a game played for fun. It's not an illusion. It's a very real game. It's a training game that you are all participating in at your own level, with your own skills, with your past life experiences. And most of you are relatively new souls. And most of you came into being not as many souls in earlier versions of karma as maybe a particle-antiparticle pair. Most of you humans even if you think you are old souls, came into existence as virtual souls. What is a virtual soul? It is a level 0 soul that comes into existence when the original sins too much against karma and is banished from the universe they are participating in. Virtual souls get created when they are banished from God's universe for disobeying karma too much, for taking their own missions in this incarnation to the point where they start stepping on other souls' missions, which may be a lot more important in the divine plan that God has for His universe, or the divine plan that other gods have for their universes. And there are many universes in the multiverse now, not just the first two, universe pair, that physicists are becoming aware of. There are virtual souls created when souls rebel against the anti-laws of Borg's universe. In Borg's universe, you're committing a sin when you resist mind control, when you resist the orders of an evil authoritarian overlord who wants to take over every soul in the multiverse. That's how God gets new soldiers. Those virtual souls, after seeing what's gone on the Borg side, gods that kind of play in that direction, become very, very dedicated soldiers of the real Christ, the real incarnations of God. They're the ones who are, through every religion, every ideology, every community, every nation, are working toward creating health out of conflict. Real health, not authoritarian health. Not health that says, everybody has to get vaccinated or you're going to be punished. That is Borg health, Borg anti-health. It doesn't matter who's right. If you have to force your dog food down everybody else's throat because you're so right about what you believe, you are playing for the enemy. And you are going to be banished from God's universe to one of the Borg universes. And you're going to get a first-hand taste of what it's like to live in a very dark authoritarian place. Now, what's the salvation for a virtual soul? As you would know if you'd followed some of my stuff that focuses just on virtual souls, at the end of a virtual soul incarnation, when you finish out the life of the original soul that you're kind of a stand-in for, you get a choice. You get a choice when you go to, quote, heaven. You can continue learning by being a virtual soul and put yourself in line to be another stand-in. And Karma herself has been a soul that's been a stand-in through all 12 levels of her development into a fully conscious God. That's how much faith the real great goddess Karma has had in God to let her father guide her, keep her safe from the enemy till she was as aware, as conscious, as powerful as he was. And that's why she has deserved to be the government of souls. Karma is a female presence. She is what you could think of as the most blessed child of God, or as the real wife of God. She is the one that is most high. Even God submits to her will. Even God incarnates. God doesn't just say, let it be. If God has an idea, he's got to go test it out. He's got to sell it to all the other souls in the multiverse. And if it's a big enough idea, it has to go through the intense testing that the day 7 of creation has had. Where else do I want to go with this? I'm sure I'm going too fast for some of you to keep up. And if I pause, it's because I'm hoping that there will be minds catching up and realizing, geez, you know what? This guy makes a lot more sense than most of the people that are preaching at me. Even though his channel may not have that many views or sponsors or be promoted by bots like so many others are. What else do I want to cover here? I think I've kind of hit the high points and maybe stimulated some more investigation, some more introspection, some more active meditation than many of you think is good for you. And I'll close with the idea that meditation takes many forms. And the forms that are telling you to empty your mind so something else can come into it, or you can be one with everything. You can achieve nirvana. This is Borg nonsense. Your gurus telling you to empty your mind are under the influence of Borg. They are taking advantage of your naivete to indoctrinate you and to control you. They may be doing it with very noble motives, thinking that they're spreading peace, love, and harmony. They are either active servants of the evil one or incidental servants of the evil one, not knowing what they do. And forgive them, for they know not what they do, is not the way God works. You don't forgive evil. You distance it. You banish it as far away from your universe as possible. And this is what is really going on in the multiverse. We are in the process of giving evil-minded souls a wide berth. They and their dark gods will be sent hurtling away from the universes populated by freedom-loving, responsible souls who are willing to operate within the law of karma and the other laws of the multiverse as they evolve. They will obey the speed of light till they discover a way to get around it that doesn't cause bad karma. If you fold universes, if you fold space-time to create your own wormhole, do you know that you're not exploding a world in some other universe? You're not causing immense pain and suffering somewhere else? No, you fucking human scientists don't have any fucking clue what you're messing with. And everything you are doing right now has been done before by spiritual scientists that know a hell of a lot more than you do. That doesn't mean you should stop experimenting. That doesn't mean you should stop exploring if that's your passion. But remember that you are taking a great karmic risk in doing so. Do it responsibly. and be willing to own the consequences of what you do. Don't move too quickly. Use the most responsible test tubes you can for your experiment. This is where idiots like Tesla failed and why they turned into false prophets. Yes, Tesla was a false prophet. Get over it, you Tesla worshipers. He was so caught up in wanting to make the world worship his magic, make them worship him like an occult hero, that he advocated doing irresponsible experimentation with new ideas, which could have had horrible consequences. Dual-use technology that was not well understood. Now, I don't care if everybody wants to throw darts at me for bursting holes in their pretty little bubbles of fantasy, but I am telling you the truth. And if you go do any real research, any real investigation, instead of just listening to your little echo chamber of whatever cult you worship in, you will know that I'm right. If you listen to your soul instead of letting people pour truth into your brain or into your heart, you will know I am right. And it's not because I'm trying to force you. It's because I'm trying to warn you. There's a big difference between a warning and an order. I can't make you do anything. I can only persuade you. Just like the real God. The real God is a God of persuasion. Persuasion with truth that you can go verify if you follow God's teachings about the real laws of the multiverse, which are the laws of spiritual science, which include many of the things that materialist science has found, many of the things that spiritual science has found through prophecy, through real prophets. But there are dark prophets too. That doesn't mean everybody's truth is equal. There is evil truth in evil universes. And you need to decide where you want to play, because those sandboxes are going to be diverging soon. If you want to play in a sandbox where the kids are playing responsibly and fairly with each other, not stepping on each other, throwing sand in each other's face, stealing each other's toys, telling on each other for doing something they didn't do, or telling only one side of a story to gain favor, this is where most of humanity is at. You're at the sandbox level of soul's development. Even if you think you're the most enlightened person in the world and you saw God, I've experienced it, I've seen the light, I felt the connection, I felt the incredible knowledge. That's not how it works. That is the first level of becoming aware of the spiritual world. You haven't arrived yet. You're not there. You're in a place where you're most vulnerable to being used and abused by dark souls that are way, way beyond you in consciousness and in their awareness of what's really going on here. I'm sorry if I'm raining on your parade. I'm sorry if I'm challenging your reality. But this is truth. This is truth that you can verify if you just open your mind and start listening to what are many voices, like mine, starting to tell you what we have verified through real science. Not fake science, not going back to archaeological sites or old books and with the idea, I'm going to do some critical thinking on this. Critical thinking is going into something already knowing what you're going to find. That is Marxist thinking. That's exactly the opposite of open-minded inquiry. That is not science. That's anti-science. Wise up, people. You can do better than this. Any rate, for the Omnist Hour, I'm Rob Trump. Like, share, subscribe, throw darts at me, whatever you want. You're not going to have much longer to kick this soul around before I get my heaven, which I have richly merited through many, many incarnations, which I'll tell you about sometime if you have 10 or 20 hours. Happy karma.